Welcome to the deep dive. It's funny how we think that making big life changes needs these huge dramatic actions. We sort of wait for that big moment, right? That one massive decision. But what if the real shifts, the ones that actually last, happen, well, quietly, day by day? Today we're diving deep into this really powerful idea that it's the small, consistent daily habits that are, the actual architects of our future. We've gathered some fantastic insights from the material you've shared, and we're ready to unpack it all.
That's exactly right. And our mission here really is to explore how these little choices, things that seem almost insignificant on their own, compound over time, how they build up to create these profound, sometimes life-altering results. We want to pinpoint those key nuggets of knowledge that can help you not just understand this, but actually harness it, use this power for yourself.
Okay, so let's start with a word we toss around a lot, lifestyle. When you hear that, what pops into your head? Is it like luxury cars, fancy holidays, designer stuff? I think for many of us, it instantly connects to possessions, maybe extravagance.
Yeah, it's interesting how that's become the default image, isn't it? But the material we looked at really clarifies this. Lifestyle is fundamentally about how you live your life. It's much less about what you buy and far more about those small, everyday actions. How you wake up, what you grab for breakfast, how you react when things get stressful, even just how you wind down in the evening. These are the real threads making up your lifestyle.
And here's something that really made me stop and think from the sources. Researchers at Duke University found something quite startling. They found that around 40% of our daily actions aren't conscious decisions, they're habits.
40%, just think about that.
Yeah. Almost half of what you do runs on autopilot.
And that's the kicker, isn't it? That's the implication. If those habits, that autopilot system, are positive ones, it's like you're getting this gentle upward pull towards growth, towards good outcomes, without even constant effort. But if those habits are detrimental, they slowly, almost invisibly, pull you down. It really shows the quiet but immense power these routines hold.
Okay, so if nearly half our day is on autopilot, where do the sources suggest we actually start? Where's the leverage point to begin shaping those default settings? I'm thinking about the morning. The material seemed to really emphasize starting the day right.
Exactly. How you kick off your morning often sets the whole tone, the trajectory for the entire day. And it's not necessarily about becoming some super disciplined 4 a.m. riser, which I think scares a lot of people off. The sources give really practical, small examples, impactful things, like maybe waking up just 30 minutes earlier. Not hours, just half an hour. Enough to feel in control, not rushed. Or something even simpler, drinking a glass of water right when you wake up. Good for energy, good for brain function, apparently. Even just 5 minutes, stretching, maybe meditating, just clearing your head before the day rushes in.
It's interesting, isn't it, how the focus isn't on some extreme schedule that successful people follow, like athletes, leaders, writers. They often rely on simple, consistent morning rituals, but they're not all identical. It seems to be more about creating that intentional pause, finding what gives them clarity and energy.
There was a really compelling anecdote in the material about this. A friend who totally changed their workday. They used to be frantic in the mornings, rushing, skipping breakfast, stressed in traffic, the whole deal. Then they started waking up just 20 minutes earlier. 20 minutes. Used it to make coffee, read literally one page of a book, and jot down a quick to-do list. And that tiny shift apparently transformed their stressed-out mornings into something calm, even productive. It's a great example of micro changes, macro impact.
Yeah, and that story perfectly highlights the next big idea, what the sources call the compound effect. This is the core principle, really. Small choices, repeated daily, leading to huge outcomes over time. It's not flashy, it's just quiet, relentless consistency.
Right, we all kind of get the math, like the classic example.
Right.
Drinking soda every day versus drinking water. On day one, you see basically no difference, zero. But the sources really hammer home how those negative habits creep up on you. Their impact is so gradual, it's almost invisible until it's suddenly significant. And the flip side is true too. Good habits build silently. You might not notice much at first, then one day you look back and realize how far you've come.
And you start seeing this everywhere once you look for it. The sources gave such clear, numbers-based examples like 10 push-ups a day. Sounds tiny, right? But that's over 3,600 push-ups in a year. Or reading just 10 pages daily. That adds up to reading, 12, maybe 15 books a year, without feeling overwhelmed. Or even simpler, writing down one thing you're grateful for each day. That's 365 little moments of positivity documented over a year. It really makes you think, doesn't it? What little things are we doing every day that are quietly shaping our future selves?
It absolutely reinforces that idea. don't underestimate the small stuff, ever. They don't just add up. They compound, they multiply. It's that steady consistency, like drops of water filling a jar, slow, maybe boring day to day, but eventually it overflows.
So we've talked a lot about physical habits, waking up, exercise, water, but the deep dive also broadened this idea of lifestyle. It's not just physical health. The mental and emotional dimensions are just as crucial, maybe even more so sometimes, but I think they often get pushed aside in the usual wellness talk.
That's such an important point. And this is where the material kind of nudges us toward self-reflection, asking ourselves questions like, do you actually make time for a digital detox? Or are you always on? Do you consciously spend time with people who genuinely lift you up, who energize you? Or, how's your internal dialogue? Do you practice self-kindness? Or are you constantly your own worst critic? These are all habits, mental and emotional habits, that deeply shape your well-being.
And definitely how we handle stress. Life throws stuff at us. That's unavoidable. But our habits can change how we experience that stress. The sources mention simple things. Practicing deep breathing when you feel overwhelmed, maybe journaling regularly, or just reaching out, actually connecting with a friend you trust. Small acts, but they can genuinely shift stress from something that pressures you to maybe even something that makes you stronger.
Yeah, there was one story that really stood out for me about a woman who felt completely overwhelmed by problems, just saw negativity everywhere. She started a simple habit. Every night, before bed, writing down 3 things she was grateful for. Just 3 small things. And apparently, within weeks, her whole perspective shifted. She started noticing hope, possibilities, instead of just problems. That's a pretty powerful example of how a small mental habit can create real deep change.
Okay, this is all resonating. It sounds incredibly powerful, but let's get practical. The big question is always, how? How do we actually build these habits so they last? Understanding is one thing, making it stick is, well, another challenge altogether.
Right, the execution part. The sources actually break it down very simply. 3 clear, actionable rules. First, start small, really small, like ridiculously small. Instead of saying, I'll exercise for an hour, commit to a 5-minute walk. That's it. Make it so easy you can't say no. Second, attach habits. This is clever. Link a new habit you want to build to an existing one you already do without thinking. For instance, maybe you want to drink more water. So drink a glass right after you brush your teeth. Leverage that existing routine. And third, track your progress. Keep it simple, a notebook, tick marks on a calendar, a basic app. Just seeing that streak, seeing the progress, even tiny wins, it provides this positive feedback loop that fuels motivation.
And the sources made a really critical point here, didn't they, about motivation versus consistency. And motivation is what gets you started. It's the spark. But consistency, that's what keeps you going. You don't need to feel excited every single day to do your 5-minute walk. It's more about setting things up, so showing up becomes almost automatic, frictionless, even on the days you feel zero enthusiasm.
Absolutely. And that ties into the bigger picture here, which is that there isn't one single perfect lifestyle out there that everyone should copy. This isn't about trying to fit into someone else's mold or some Instagram ideal.
Exactly. The real goal, as the material really stresses, is creating these small daily rhythms that are unique to you, things that genuinely serve your well-being, your energy, your peace of mind. The aim should be to make your life feel healthier, calmer, maybe happier, not to add more exhausting things to your to-do list just because someone else says it's good for you.
Yeah, and what's great is how diverse these personal rhythms can be.
Yeah.
The sources mentioned examples like gardening or reading consistently, or even just enjoying cooking. It really doesn't matter what it is as long as it resonates with you. It needs to empower you, not drain you.
So bringing this all together, what's the main takeaway for you listening right now as you think about your own life? I think the central message from this deep dive is really clear. Your lifestyle isn't built in one big moment. It's shaped every single day. Through the sum, the accumulation of all those consistent small choices.
And you really can't overstate the power of starting small. Seriously, just think. What's one tiny step you could genuinely take today or tomorrow? Drink that extra glass of water. Go for a 10-minute walk. Write just 1 sentence in a journal. Maybe try to get to bed 30 minutes earlier tonight. These aren't huge sacrifices, right? But over time, they're not just adding up. They become the quiet, solid foundation for your health, your happiness, your long-term success.
It's pretty amazing when you connect those seemingly tiny adjustments to their potential impact down the line. They really are the building blocks. Quiet, steady, assembling the life you want, one small, deliberate action at a time.
So maybe here's a final thought to chew on. How are those small, maybe mundane choices you're making today, right now, this afternoon, this evening, how are they silently designing the life you're going to be living years from now? often long before you even consciously realize it. What kind of future are those quiet architects building for you?